The Karath War Council was abuzz with activity. Their leader, General Thak, loomed over a holographic projection of Earth. His mandibles clicked in a pattern that signaled disdain. "Another weak planet," Thak growled. "This will be an easy conquest." His advisors nodded in agreement, confident in their technological superiority and brute strength. The Karath had conquered dozens of worlds, each falling with little resistance. Earth was expected to be no different. On Earth, the first signs of the invasion were seen in the skies. Massive ships blotted out the sun, descending with a hum that resonated across the land. Panic spread quickly among the human population. Governments scrambled to respond, activating military defenses and broadcasting pleas for calm. In a secluded forest in the Pacific Northwest, an elderly ranger named Hank watched the skies darken. He had seen many strange things in his time, but nothing like this. He felt a peculiar shift in the air, a hum that seemed to resonate with the trees around him. "Something's coming," he muttered to himself, rubbing the back of his neck. In the United Nations headquarters, leaders from around the world convened in an emergency session. President Mitchell took the podium, her voice steady but urgent. "We are facing an unprecedented threat," she began, "but we must remain calm and united. Our planet's strength lies in our resilience and our ability to adapt. We will face this challenge together." As the Karath landed their first wave of troops, they expected little resistance. Their soldiers, towering over humans with their exoskeleton armor and advanced weaponry, marched through fields and towns, meeting sporadic gunfire from local militias and military units. But the forests remained quiet, almost as if waiting. Deep within the Amazon rainforest, biologist Dr. Elena Morales monitored the unfolding invasion from her remote research station. She had dedicated her life to studying the intricate ecosystems of the forest, and she knew they held more secrets than anyone could imagine. "Elena, look at this," her assistant Raj called out, pointing to a screen showing unusual readings from their sensors. The trees were emitting a low-frequency vibration, something they had never recorded before. It was as if the forest itself was responding to the threat. As night fell, the Karath forces set up camps on the edges of major forests, planning to sweep through them in the morning. They underestimated the terrain, assuming their superior technology would see them through any obstacles. General Thak received reports of minimal resistance. "Humans are as weak as expected," he scoffed, looking at the holographic map. "Tomorrow we will advance through these forested areas and secure the entire planet." But as the night deepened, strange things began to happen. Karath soldiers on patrol reported hearing whispers, rustling leaves, and seeing shadows moving just beyond the reach of their lights. Their equipment malfunctioned, and communication lines crackled with static. In the morning, the Karath launched their assault into the forests. The first wave pushed into the dense woods, confident and unprepared. As they advanced, the trees seemed to close in around them. Vines and roots moved with a life of their own, tripping and entangling the soldiers. Trees released clouds of spores that caused hallucinations and disorientation. General Thak, watching from his command center, saw the advance falter. "What's happening in there?" he demanded, frustration mounting as he received garbled reports of ambushes and unseen attackers. In the Pacific Northwest, Hank stood in the heart of the forest, feeling the ancient power that surged through the earth. He placed a hand on a massive cedar tree, whispering, "It's your time to protect." The forest responded with a low rumble. Trees shifted, branches swayed, and the very air seemed charged with energy. The Karath had underestimated Earth and its inhabitants, but they were about to learn a hard lesson. Back in the Amazon, Elena watched in awe as the forest came alive around her. "They're not just plants," she whispered to Raj. "They're guardians." Raj nodded, eyes wide with realization. "We need to help them." And so humanity's fight against the Karath invasion truly began, with the forests of Earth awakening to defend their home. General Thak's frustration was palpable. The reports from the forests were baffling. His seasoned warriors, invincible in so many battles, were being stalled by trees? It was unthinkable. "Send in reinforcements," he ordered, his voice a low growl. "Clear those forests. Burn them if you have to." On the ground, Karath soldiers tried to push deeper into the woods, but the forest resisted with a will of its own. Massive roots erupted from the ground, forming barricades. Vines snaked out, tripping and strangling. The air grew thick with pollen and spores that confused and disoriented the alien invaders. In the Amazon, Elena and Raj coordinated with other scientists and local military units. They had a plan to harness the forest's power. Using drones and sensors, they mapped the forest's responses, finding patterns and understanding how to support the natural defenses. "We need to keep the Karath contained," Elena said, pointing to a map. "If we can direct them into the densest parts of the forest, the trees will take care of the rest." In the Pacific Northwest, Hank gathered local rangers and indigenous leaders who knew the forest intimately. They set traps and guided the Karath into narrow paths where the trees could close in on them. The forest seemed to whisper to Hank, guiding his steps and giving him insights into how to fight back. Meanwhile, General Thack grew more impatient. He ordered a massive aerial bombardment of the forest areas, hoping to scorch the earth and rid it of the resistance. As the bombers flew over the forests, the trees below responded. Branches extended upward, releasing clouds of spores that interfered with the aircraft's systems, causing many to crash or veer off course. Dr. Morales and Raj watched the skies nervously. "We need to take down those bombers," Raj said. "I know," Elena replied, her mind racing. "We can use the forest itself. If we can amplify the tree's signals, maybe we can create a disturbance big enough to disable their electronics." They set up equipment to enhance the natural frequencies emitted by the trees. As the bombers approached, the air vibrated with a low, resonant hum. The Karath pilots found their instruments going haywire, and many planes plummeted from the sky, unable to maintain control. On the ground, the Karath soldiers faced relentless attacks. Every step forward seemed to awaken new challenges: falling branches, shifting roots, and poisonous plants. The forest was alive, aware, and fighting back with a vengeance. Hank and his team moved through the forest, setting controlled fires to direct the Karath into traps and guiding local wildlife to join the battle. Wolves, bears, and other predators harried the alien soldiers, striking from the shadows and then melting back into the foliage. General Thack watched in disbelief as his forces faltered. This was not the easy conquest he had anticipated. "What kind of planet is this?" he muttered. As night fell, the forest's resistance only intensified. Elena and her team sent out a broadcast to all human resistance groups, sharing their findings and encouraging them to work with their local environments. "We are not alone in this fight," Elena said. "The Earth itself is fighting with us." Around the world, similar scenes played out. Forests, jungles, and even deserts rose up against the invaders. The Karath found themselves in a hostile environment, facing an enemy that was everywhere and nowhere at once. The humans, emboldened by the forest's support, began to push back more aggressively. They used guerrilla tactics, striking swiftly and retreating into the woods, where the Karath dared not follow. General Thack, now realizing the true extent of the challenge before him, called for a full retreat from the forested areas. His forces regrouped in the open plains and cities, away from the green fury that had decimated their ranks. But the battle was far from over. The Karath still had their superior technology and numbers, and they would not give up easily. Yet the humans had a newfound ally in the forests, and they were determined to defend their home. General Thack's decision to retreat from the forests bought his forces some respite, but it also gave the humans and their newfound allies time to regroup and strategize. In the Amazon, Elena and Raj, now joined by military experts, developed plans to extend the forest's influence into urban areas. "We need to bring the fight to them," Elena said, her eyes fierce with determination. "If we can integrate the forest's defense mechanisms into our cities, we'll turn their own advantage against them." In the Pacific Northwest, Hank and his team, with the help of local wildlife and forest spirits, began to push the boundaries of the forest outward. They planted fast-growing, resilient trees and used controlled burns to direct the Karath into ambushes. The forest was no longer just a defensive stronghold. It was becoming an offensive weapon. The Karath, now wary of the forests, concentrated their efforts on the cities. Their massive ships hovered over metropolitan areas, deploying ground troops and advanced war machines. human forces fought valiantly but struggled against the superior technology of the invaders. In New York City, Lieutenant Sarah Connor coordinated resistance efforts from a makeshift command center in Central Park. She had heard about the forest's defenses and was eager to implement similar tactics in the urban environment. "We need to bring the green to the city," she said to her team. "If the forests can fight back, so can we." Engineers and botanists worked together to create mobile plant units, integrating fast-growing vines and sturdy trees into urban landscapes. They used rooftops, parks, and abandoned buildings to plant seeds and saplings that would quickly grow and disrupt Karath operations. As the Karath pushed into the city, they found themselves entangled in a web of green. Vines crawled up their war machines, roots cracked the foundations of their structures, and pollen filled the air, causing confusion and disarray among their troops. In Washington, D.C., President Mitchell received reports of these efforts and issued a directive to all cities. "Use the forest's tactics. Let the green fight with us." Around the world, urban areas began to transform. The green offensive spread, with humans and nature working in tandem to create living fortresses. The Karath found their advances stalled not just by human resistance, but by the very planet they sought to conquer. General Thack, realizing the shift in tactics, ordered a concentrated assault on the human strongholds. His forces attacked with renewed ferocity, aiming to crush the resistance before it could gain more ground. In New York, Lieutenant Connor led her troops in a fierce defense of the city. The Karath's war machines lumbered through the streets, but they were met with an unyielding force of nature. Trees burst from the asphalt, creating barriers, and vines reached out to ensnare the alien soldiers. Amid the chaos, Elena and Raj arrived in the city, bringing with them advanced knowledge of the forest's defensive capabilities. They coordinated with Connor to amplify the natural defenses, using technology to enhance the growth and movement of plants. "We can do this," Raj said, calibrating a device that emitted low-frequency vibrations, encouraging rapid plant growth. "We just need to hold them off a little longer." As the battle raged, the combined efforts of humans and nature began to turn the tide. The Karath, unable to adapt to the ever-changing landscape, found themselves increasingly isolated and vulnerable. In the command center, General Thack watched as his forces were steadily pushed back. "This planet, it's alive," he muttered, finally grasping the magnitude of their error in underestimating Earth. The human resistance, emboldened by their successes, launched a counteroffensive. They pushed the Karath out of the cities, back towards their landing zones. The forests extended their reach, reclaiming land and growing into once urban areas. In the final push, Hank, Elena, and Lieutenant Connor coordinated a massive assault on the Karath's main base. Using the forest's power and human ingenuity, they created a devastating attack that crippled the alien stronghold. General Thack, faced with the collapse of his invasion, ordered a full retreat. The Karath ships lifted off, leaving Earth behind. The humans watched as the invaders fled, their spirits high with the taste of victory. The world had changed. The forests, once seen as mere resources, were now revered as powerful allies. Humanity had discovered a strength they never knew they had, united with the green fury of their planet. The Karath's departure left a world forever changed. As the last of the alien ships disappeared into the sky, a cheer erupted across the globe. Humans had not only survived, but thrived by uniting with the very earth beneath their feet. In the Amazon, Elena and Raj stood among the towering trees, marveling at the resilience and power of the forest. "We did it," Raj said, his voice filled with awe. "We actually did it." Elena nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "And we couldn't have done it without them," she said, gesturing to the vibrant green canopy above. In New York City, Lieutenant Connor oversaw the rebuilding efforts. The city, now interwoven with greenery, stood as a testament to human ingenuity and the strength of nature. Parks and buildings alike teemed with life, a living memorial to the battle they had won. President Mitchell addressed the world from the White House, her words broadcast to every corner of the globe. "Today, we celebrate not just our survival, but our unity. We stood together, humans and nature, and defended our home. Let this be a reminder of what we can achieve when we work in harmony with our planet." Around the world, similar scenes unfolded. People gathered in parks, forests, and urban green spaces to commemorate their victory and honor the new bond they had forged with the natural world. The once clear lines between civilization and wilderness blurred, giving rise to a new era of coexistence. In the Pacific Northwest, Hank walked through the forest, feeling the hum of life all around him. The trees, now more vibrant than ever, seemed to whisper their gratitude. He paused by the cedar tree he had spoken to before the battle began, placing a hand on its rough bark. "We did it," he murmured. "We protected our home." Back in the Amazon, Elena and Raj led a team of scientists in studying the newfound abilities of the forests. They discovered that the symbiotic relationship between humans and nature had awakened dormant potentials in both. Plants grew faster, stronger, and more resilient. In turn, humans found themselves more attuned to the natural world, their senses heightened, and their understanding deepened. In Washington, D.C., President Mitchell convened a global summit to discuss the future. Leaders from every nation gathered to forge a new path forward, one that embraced the lessons learned from the invasion. Policies were enacted to protect and nurture the natural world, ensuring that the bond formed during the battle would not be forgotten. As the years passed, the world transformed. Cities became greener, with buildings designed to coexist with nature. Forests expanded, reclaiming areas once dominated by concrete and steel. Humanity thrived, their technology and culture evolving in harmony with the environment. General Thak, now exiled from his command, brooded in the distant reaches of the galaxy. The Karath had learned a painful lesson about underestimating the so-called weak. Stories of Earth's victory spread among the stars, becoming a legend that warned against hubris and the strength found in unity. On Earth, life continued to flourish. The bond between humans and nature grew stronger, their combined strength ensuring the planet's protection from any future threats. The forests stood as silent guardians, their power a constant reminder of the day the world changed. Elena, Raj, Hank, and Lieutenant Connor each continued their work, inspired by the battle they had won. They knew that the true victory was not just in defeating the Karath, but in the new way of life they had forged. A life where humans and nature thrived together, stronger and more resilient than ever before. And so, Earth stood as a beacon in the universe, a testament to the power of unity and the indomitable spirit of its inhabitants. The green fury that had defended the planet now nurtured it, ensuring that the legacy of